like I said, today's going to be kind of informal. We're just going to kind of have a discussion about the whole lore. So it's not going to be like it'll be story time. But if you have any questions about anything, I'll stop every so often. But if you have questions, just ask. Okay. So welcome to Astria or Astria. I'll put the spelling down here if y'all want to. Or Asteria. That's another way I've heard it said too. So that is the galaxy that we are in. That is Astria. Now this is many
It's like
many
Astoria.
Yeah, it's far
Except
away
not in Oregon.
from our own, from the Milky Way. The year that we are starting is 2000. Now, the way that time and the calendar works, that is the calendar is based off of when humanity came to Asteria. So humanity is basically the whole reason we have this history at this point from the perspective. So it's the year 2000. Just to kind of how did humanity get here? This will be very human focused for lore, and then we'll kind of talk about the other ones. So this is 2000 years from an X amount of time in our future.
Arrival of
Humanity. Yeah.
In Asteria.
So
okay.
Humanity originally came from Earth. Came from the Sol system here in the Milky Way. Earth at the time was going through a very large environmental catastrophe, like it usually does in every sci-fi movie.
Colony drops.
A wormhole opened within the Sol system, something like Interstellar, if you guys have seen that.
Rip us.
And basically, humanity decided that, hey, we're going to send people through this. So they send scouts through, and they're like, hey, there's actual planets here that are colonizable that we can use. And they decided to put an expedition together, all of like the Andromeda Initiative from Mass Effect, to basically ensure the survival of the human race. So they got the best and the brightest, best military people, best scientists, best leaders, all within a certain amount of parameters. And they formed this organization. Now, the name of that organization in humanity's history has been lost. Like, they don't really tie anything back to Earth anymore. When they came here, and we'll talk about why, but things kind of just went sideways and it changed. So humanity kind of has in Asteria has kind of done it off on its own direction. But they originally came from Earth. Humanity was a very technically advanced race. They had the ability to use faster than light, shielding, mass accelerator cannon, so max or thing, nukes. Basically think UNSC with shields is their tech level. So when they came here to Asteria, and we'll talk about other stuff as we go, they originally popped in and they found out very quickly that the entire part of the subsector that they're in, which is the Hyperion subsector, which is this map right here, was basically in a large, what became known as the Void Wars, but a large civil war, or a large sector war between one race and a coalition of races. And that race by itself was the Vesk. Now, the Vesk, if you guys have read what they are in the book, they're a reptilian species, very similar to the Krogan. Basically, the Vesk had very advanced ships for the sector. When humanity came in, they legitimately were the top of the food chain when they showed up. So the Vesk were fighting the Kashatha, the Lushunta, and some of the other minor species that were under the protection of those major races, basically over control of this whole sector. And when humanity showed up, down in this corner right here was basically Lushunta and Kashatha territory. Everything else off this direction was all Vesk. So humanity showed up, realized that, hey, the Vesk are just destroying people. This is not fair. And they wanted to kind of bring stability to the race, to the sector. So they really believe, like, humanity, when they left Earth, they wanted to go through with, like, this utopian ideal of we're gonna make life better for sentience and all that, kind of like the Federation from Star Trek. That was their intention, but when they
Except
showed up here,
they forget that humans are humans, and that's never
yeah,
gonna fucking happen.
yeah, and then they showed up here and they realized, oh, this is not what we expected. They knew that there was races here, but they didn't realize that there was a massive war going on when they showed up. So humanity gets dropped right in the middle of it. They get attacked by the Vesk, and basically the expedition on its own basically single-handedly almost destroyed the Vesk. The Vesk don't have shield. Originally, their ships didn't have shields, so.
Oh my god, are we the Covenant?
Yeah, we were literally, it's the reverse Covenant here. Like, humanity was the Covenant here. And the Vesk had, they were more built to handle kinetic weapons because they used, like, railguns and things like that. And they didn't have max or nukes either. So when humanity showed up, they utilized their superior technology and nuclear weapons to basically just block the Vesk. And the other races, their ships were inferior because they're more energy based, and they really didn't build ships to withstand kinetic strikes, so their shields and stuff really couldn't take hits like that. So that's why the Vesk were so just powerful, is like the energy weapons that the other races had really didn't do much to the armor. But they just bandwhacked people, and then humanity came in and said, hey, you're dead. So the other races in the coalition, so the Kashatha and all of them, came to humanity. They saw how quickly they were just ripping through the Vesk, and they're like, we don't want to fight you. Would you guys like to make a deal? And basically humanity joined the coalition and said, hey, we're going to run this now. And basically between all three of them, they pushed the Vesk all the way back to their homeworlds. And the humans, in a moment of clarity of, hey, we should probably treat these people and not destroy them, treat them like actual sentient beings, basically offered them to say, hey, we're going to end the war. This is how things are going to go. Will you sign the peace treaty? And the Vesk decided that they'd rather survive than watch the whole race get annihilated. So the treaty was signed, and things kind of stabilized out a bit. Humanity, realizing that when they came here, oh my god, we have all this technology and all of this potential influence and power, already within the coalition, but within the whole sector, started expanding out pretty quickly, selling their technology and getting these other species back onto their feet after this war, because basically the Vesk utterly destroyed the other races, and actually broke one, and we'll talk about them, but literally broke one into pieces, because they're not even really a unified force anymore. But humanity from there kind of spread out, as they kind of went all over this part of the galaxy. So it got really hard for the old government that was installed from Earth to really control everything, because there was just so many systems and there was so much distance between the systems, that as humanity kind of grew, and as humanity
It's
does,
expansion fatigue.
yeah, and over time, about 200 years or so after the war, humanity, basically the governments of these planets, so the governors decided, hey, we don't really need to work with these other people, and they started going on their own. That's a problem, because who's going to keep the Vesk in check? Who's going to keep other stuff in check that we'll talk about? So they had some wars and some issues with each other. So, like, planets were vying for influence. Corps became a big thing after the war, because with its power and influence, they saw opportunity and they jumped on that opportunity. Now,
Wait.
corps are not regulated, by the way. There's
Oh.
no antitrust, any government, anything. There's none of that. So there is corps that literally own systems, even though that there is a government installed, if that makes sense. But they're kind of everywhere. Any questions so far about what we've covered before I move on? So, no questions.
Not so far.
All right. So, with the government kind of falling apart in the extent of there's just so much put onto onto the system. These governments decided after they had some bloody like local conflicts with some of the within the systems or other systems with other systems. They had a big meeting on Terminus Station, which is in the middle here. Terminus Station is something like the Citadel or the Nexus that humanity brought with them from Earth. This is the last kind of thing that came from Earth. The idea was they were going to use it for the center for humanity and kind of have it as the big trade hub. Well, with the war, the way it went and everything, they just decided to make it the center of the subsector. So the Terminus Station was right here in the middle at 00, and you guys will see it. But they had a big meeting with all the governors, and they said, hey, we want you guys to have your independence of managing your systems because, honestly, there's just too many of you, and we can't really handle that from a central point anymore. But we need to have a military kind of organization that humanity and maybe the other partnership states and races can use, and to kind of make sure that we keep peace. And basically they made Space UN is what it is. So what they made was the Terran Federation is what it's called, or the Fed. Now the Terran Federation is the militant arm of humanity. It's pretty much the organized military in the sector. They have the Federation Navy, which they operate battleship kind of hybrid carriers. Think battle stars. That's what they operate. Shields, nukes. They kind of have the same tech that humanity brought with them. And then they also have the Terran Federation Marine Corps, which is some of the best soldiers in like the whole sector. Like they're highly trained. They do a lot of peacekeeping missions. They do a lot of. There's a lot of turf war stuff that they deal with, but they're not like used like the UN. They're a lot more aggressive with what they do, and they're a little more heavy-handed with things. So the Terran the Fed is kind of an overarching kind of like coalition from these planets, and people are basically required to send like X amount of recruits from each of the human systems into the Feds. So they have recruiters and stuff that go on the worlds and go like, hey, do you want to join? They do have foreign legions within the Fed for like the Shinta, the Kashatha if they want to join, or even Vesk. They use Vesk a lot for foreign legion stuff because there's just so many of them. But basically, they're around to kind of keep the peace. Like Yggdrasil right here. If you guys see this one right here, that's actually an entire fleet base there. It's actually a space station for them. And then they also have the Texii here, or it's Tex item that is also a large militant system. We'll talk about that.
Right.
But basically, they're the peacekeepers to make sure that there's not going to be another major sector war. That's their job. Other than that, that's pretty much the human stuff as it is now. A lot of it's ran on the government, like on the local level. They do have a larger, like, just conferences at Terminus all the time, but there's not a lot that they get done. And there's no, like, overarching president of humanity or anything like that. So it's pretty much on the local level. So do you have any questions on humanity?
So what are the spheres of influence? Like what races are
We'll talk about that. So, we'll talk about things here. So the middle here area. So from Durashal here, Bilotti, all the way to Ondostolis over here is all humanity. It's like their major area. So
Up, down.
like this whole kind of thing. So like that's all humanity. The Vesk are literally one system, which is Varog right here. That's the Vesk right here. That little system. So it's right there. Yeah. Boom. That's the Vesk. The Kashatha are over in this corner over here. They have this corner. Pilati, I can put this into paint. I'll actually draw a map with it in paint. It'll be easier. Cool with that. Yep. Yep. And it's kind of hard with the spheres of influence because humanity's kind of just mixed up everywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, mostly
Yeah,
like population
yeah.
majority on these planets.
So, yeah. Castrovel is where the Lashunta are, and then the Kashatha are over here in the corner. They have this whole kind of southeast, the right corner end down here.
So, I think that'll do it for the humans for me.
Okay, so, and
Uh,
let's talk about the Android War too. I just remembered. So,
Wait, real quick.
yeah,
Federation Navy, Federation Marines. Is there an army for like?
no, there's no army. So the armies, the governments, like the planetary governments, have their own PDFs.
Okay, so
So they run it through their local, like the army stuff is all local. But if anything offensive, like the Marines, all they do is offensive stuff or peacekeeping, like offensive peacekeeping. I know
gotcha.
that's weird, but offensive peacekeeping, I know. The armies are all about defense. So the governors have control of their armies. That was one of the big deals that they made. They are not allowed to leave their system. They stay in their systems and they don't go. So okay. So so we're gonna fast forward about 200 years before we start our game. So 200 years before our start, they had humanity had brought androids with them, and they are that advanced, but they
Of
weren't.
course, it would
Yeah,
be the 1980s that the fucking.
yeah. So they bring these androids and stuff, and the Terrans or humans,
Oh wait, 1800s. Yeah, never
they
mind.
they utilize droids very heavily. AI, they use them in combat and in other roles where, hey, it's probably not a good idea to put human lives at risk for needlessly. So the they brought them and they were more controlled. Well, over time, be that governments, the Terran Federation, the Fed, corporations, they decided we're going to make our androids smarter. We're going to make them a little more self-aware and more powerful, make them better. Well, what they didn't realize is that they discovered basically self-learning artificial intelligence, and that's bad. And the androids, a lot of their parts of them have found out that, hey, maybe we don't need to serve these people anymore, and that's all the races, not just the humans. So basically, it started the Android Rebellion, and it wasn't anything major. Like a bunch of them seeded, and basically they were like, we're gonna form our own entities, and we're gonna go do our own thing. Well, that's kind of a threat to the humans and all the other species because androids can be very powerful, and given time, bad things happen, right? And everybody has that fear of what can technology do if it left unchecked. So they basically go through and very heavily work on the Android population. Now, they still use them. Like, there's still androids and things and still out there, but they're not used in combat roles anymore. The military's basically boxed all of their combat models because they just did not trust them in combat. And they didn't want to give that capability out to people. Like, all of a sudden they turn on the humans or other races that they work with, and oh god. So, they fought the androids, turned to using terrorist tactics, suicide bombers, you know, normal kind of fighting and fighting a rebellion as a smaller force kind of campaign. They were effective, but over time there just wasn't enough numbers, and the races actually were getting their security together. So the androids started falling back out to the fringes. So there is still terrorist attacks on occasion from the androids. Be that, hey, they go hit an arms locker somewhere, or they go blow up a train station or something like that. It happens, but there is a very major dislike for androids by some people. They're not. A lot of people still look at them as they're machines and not actual sentient beings. So, Minnie, if you have questions about androids, now is probably the time. And anybody else for that matter too. They're all kind of equal. Because the Fed, the androids really didn't differentiate between who did what. Honestly, it was pretty much we all hate the meatbags equally kind of thing.
Kill all humans. Kill all humans.
So what I'm hearing from this then is Minnie is a suicide bomber until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
0010103 explodes.
Now there is corpse and things
enlightened.
that do use androids and stuff still in combat roles. They're very rare, and they only will activate, like, they still store them. Like, the combat droids, they didn't destroy them, they actually just put them into storage.
Oh, that's great. Let's make Skynet possible still.
Yeah, and so they put them away because they wanted to save it for a rainy day. Because they weren't sure
Let's save the non-compliant technology for a rainy day. That's a
rainy
good idea.
day, because when it rains, it pours.
So there is places that have been raided where they've taken the robot, the deactivated droids and androids, and corps go in and take them over. Pirates have taken them over, and they're using them. So, and they put them on local networks and stuff, and they just fire them up, and then voila, you have a droid army, which is a problem. So that's part of what the Fed does, is they go around and basically they're very much anti-piracy as well. Like, that's what the Navy is very good at. Going out and like, oh, you're a pirate, I'm going to fucking smack you. So, yeet. So yeah, that's the android stuff. Androids are still accepted in civilian uses. Like, they didn't just outlaw everything. So you'll see droid servants, people working as like maintenance, androids working as maintenance, droids working as maintenance. It's just mainly anything where we give you a gun and tell you to go somewhere on your own is probably not a good idea. People usually play the ignorant mindset. Oh, it's probably on an errand for something. People, there's a distrust to it, but they probably sit here and it's like, oh, they're probably out getting something for their master or something like that. So, depending on who you ran into, there are terrorists against the androids and droids as well. They go blow up a droid factory, but one of the corps, and the corps that build them have taken hits as well. So there is people out there that accept them, but there's also, you're always going to have that whole divide of like, well, they're sentient, well, they're not, kind of thing. So, but yeah, So that's the androids. And hang on, my phone's going off. What the hell? Oh, because it's the thing for the stream. But yeah, that's the androids.
You have an alert when mini stream goes on?
Yeah, because I'm subscribed to his YouTube, and
Jesus
it pops
Christ,
up on my
Waller.
phone. Yeah, it pops on my phone.
Holy hell, that's a
Minnie,
late
just
delay.
in case you were wondering who the one person was, it's Waller.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
that
I'm
was
not
the one
watching
guy who
it,
took
but
pity on you.
because I'm subscribed to his channel, it sends me an alert.
No,
so-
that one person is me.
Hmm.
Actually, I
So-
don't even know who's watching.
So,
God.
what race would you guys like to know next? There's the Vesk, the Lushanta, the Kashatha, and then we
Which
have
one
the
makes the best
Yoshki.
seafood?
I'm not gonna lie, Lishanta sounds like
Which one
some
makes the best seafood? That's what we need to find out.
ghetto ass store clerk
God damn it, Bellotti.
at the
How
fucking
about-
corner bodega in
What about a
Cleveland.
What about
I
a
hate you.
what about a
So much.
scientist that does the same thing? That's pretty much what they are. So
Actually, I have a question.
okay.
That wormhole that magically appeared over near Earth and we went through it,
Yep.
was there any other known information on that, or was that just a, oh hey, look, a penny, lucky?
They went through, and then once the expedition went through, the wormhole closed. So there's
So it
no
was
way
just
back to Earth. Period. Yeah, it was a one-way trip.
It was
So-
just a freak nature type deal where, hey, it's here.
As the historians have noted, that's what it is. They don't know what happened. There's no
Woke
answer.
up one morning, it was gone.
Yeah, basically.
Oh.
Well,
shit.
shit.
Because the
Alright.
original plan was they were going to use it, and then wormholes being naturally sort of unstable,
Gotcha.
it closed. So
I didn't know if it.
Can you imagine being the dude on Wormhole stuck on like Wormhole watch when that shit starts fucking collapsing?
guys,
Mashing the emergency
and
button,
what
just
sucks-
swearing
Walks
your
away
ass
for a
off.
cup of coffee, comes back, and it's gone.
It's gone.
oh fuck!
Like,
Hey Bob,
Bob,
might want to let Command know that the wormhole's gone. What?
Wormhole
It's gone.
is gone.
It's gone.
It just fucking disappeared.
I'm so fired.
Oh.
No, it's all on how you word it.
Oh, I'm gonna get fired. Alright,
So,
so,
go ahead.
you should probably explain the other races to us then,
So the
and
Vesk.
how to spell them.
Vesk
well-
is V-E-S-K or V-E-S.
V-E-S-K.
No relation
BS.
to Destiny 2's Vex.
No.
I will call
So
them that.
for the
So-
Vesk, I have a reptilian race, former top dog in the galaxy,
Yeah.
shit stomped by the humans upon arrival.
Yes. So they are
Damn.
Kinetic
They-
ship weapon
they
preference.
had kinetic ship. All the races after the war have been pretty much given an equal level of tech. The humans and the corps have gone out and be like, buy our stuff. So they're a lot better than they were, 2,000 years ago. That's been a while. But the Vesk are, like I said, reptilian race. They live in the Varag system here. This is their only formal system. Now they're across, but they're concentrated here, but they're all over as well. So you'll see them everywhere. The Vesk are numerous. They have a quick reproduction cycle, so basically Krogan level of reproduction. So it's like endless numbers kind of thing. And they're very good ground combat personnel. They're tough, they're hardy, and that was the other reason why they were so effective during the Void Wars. Was the other races weren't very good at ground combat. Like the fleets were able to get in and punch the nose, and then they just release the soldiers, and it was game over. But they're here in Varag. They are basically they're allowed to be a partner state for the Terrans, with the Terran Federation, but they're basically being watched at all times by the humans. They don't trust the Vesk to try anything again. And
One
this
wrong
is-
step, motherfucker.
yeah, this is important because this system right here, text item right here, this Texi system, is a military base for the Fed. So they literally have the second largest fleet just chilling right here, and the reason is is the Vesk during the war did some very questionable things. So there's another race in the book called the Shirens, if you go through. They were a hive mind race that no longer has a hive mind, and I'll explain. So they're in Zarkanto over here. That's their system. They also have lots of numbers and grow pretty quickly.
Wait, hold on.
Yep.
What are they called again?
The Shirens. Shirrens. Or Nens, yes. And they're in Zarkanto over here.
Shirrenes?
Yeah.
Alright.
They're in the book. So they're an insectoid race. During the war, the Vesk, when they started, basically they kind of blitzkrieged across this whole sector, very German style. They got to Zarkanto over here, and they ran into the Shirens, which nobody really knew that they were there. Like, no one had really checked Zarkanto out before. It was just kind of there. And they ran into, they had an Overmind, that's a hive mind race. And basically, the Vesk saw how numerous they were in the system, and they were like, we don't really want to fight that right now. That's a problem. And if they get access to our tech, that's even worse, because then they can go out and, fuck our shit up. So they made a deal with the Overmind. Hey, we're not going to attack you guys. We're going to leave you alone, and we want to work with you. And basically, they left Vesk in Zarkanto to work with them and kind of improve relations. And they kept going through and just steamrolling people. When humanity showed up, that kind of the table got flipped and the Vesk were on their heels. Well, the Vex military had this bright idea of trying to influence the Overminds to try and see if they could get the Shirin to help fight. Because more numbers, you throw more numbers at the problem, eventually you'll probably win, right? Kind of Russian tactics. They wanted to use the Shirins as basically meat shields, was the idea. So they, through an unknown means, or at least unknown to everybody else, they tried to influence the Overmind to basically follow the orders of the Vesk. And what happened was they actually killed the Overmind in the process. And
whoopsies.
The Shirins were cut off from their hive mind. And basically, they realized that something happened, and it was the Vesk. They didn't know what happened, but they knew something happened, and they basically turned on the Vesk that were in Zarkanto and just killed them. Like, just straight up fucking killed them. So, and humanity very quickly later shows up and says, hey, holy crap, what happened here? And they start, they communicated with the Shirins, and they said, hey, we want to help you. We don't want to, we don't want to enslave you. So they said, hey, we're going to give you this technology. We'll leave you alone, help you guys get better. And you guys are welcome to leave if you want. So that the Shirins are another partner state. The problem is there is a blood feud between the Vesk and the Shirins, and that has not stopped. They're one of the ones that is from the war that has not stopped, and that's why that base is there, is literally to make sure that the Vesk don't go over to the Shirins and blow them up, and vice versa. Now there's an actual treaty in place between the two, to where they have an equal military. So it's pretty much a, we're gonna just kill each other, and there's no point kind of scenario. The humanity set it up that way.
So they're kind of in a Cold War.
Yes, so it's kind of in a Cold War with with humanity acting as the blocking force. But they do trade. It's just like Russia and U.S. It's the same kind of idea. They're sitting at each other, staring at each other like, we hate you, but you hate us too. So,
shit.
Basically. And so that's what's going on. The Shirins aren't as advanced technologically. They don't really have their own, like, they're trying to work on it, but they're not as advanced as, say, the Vesk are. So they rely a lot on trading with corps and things like that to get their technology. So they have a heavy reliance on the corporations there. So you'll see a lot of corp influence within Sharon space.
Question.
Yeah.
Were any I'm just gonna go with World War One style penalties placed on the Vex.
Yeah, the Vesk at one point, the Vesk had this entire fucking system, pretty much like this whole sector,
Right.
all the way to except this corner. So at one point, the Vesk are pretty much, they were pretty much like bandwhacked to they don't get any more of their space. The Empire before the war started for the Vesk was this whole upper part, basically up here was this whole area was all Vesk.
Right, but I guess what I'm asking, any like reparations, tariffs, or that kind of no. Okay.
No,
so it's
it's
just the
just
territory
more
they lost is gone.
the territory they lost and their military is basically limited to what it is.
So we don't have to worry about a Vesk Hitler.
Basically, that's.
I mean, possibly, but
not in the same framework as World War.
No.
He
One,
probably
World War II.
wasn't an artist.
no.
Where was that? Where was
Hmm.
that other military base that was over here?
Terminus is actual military base too. They have a base there. And there's one in Kriebel over here. This one right here. There's one there. So that's the Vesk and that's the Sharons. They're kind of up there. Now, let's talk about the Lashunta or the Kashatha next. These
All right,
guys.
so how do you spell that?
Kashatha is Kash or Kasatthasa. It's in the book.
Kasa.
Kasathasa, I believe is how you say it, Kashatha. Or spell it. It's in the book. They're one of the book races for Starfinder. All these are the book races, by the way. So we just put them in our own little sphere of where they are on the map. So
Okay.
So the Kashatha over here, they were the other major empire, power during the war. Like they were the big one to the Vesk. Now, their system, the way that they're set up, or they were set up, they had basically think Empire of Japan with the Emperor, where they had like the Emperor, and then they have like daimyos or their councils. They had like their clans. They're all basically into clans. So, like they had a representative on this clan council that basically, and the Emperor was kind of the one that guided all of it, right? And he's more of a figurehead, and then they all kind of work together. Well, when the Vesk went to war with them, things went really bad for the Kashatha. Like they were getting their ass kicked. Their empire was huge. They were up in sword terminuses and stuff like that. They were huge, and they were fighting pretty much a delaying action. Like there was no offensive from the Cathasha. They tried, but the Vesk just every time they tried something, they just get bandwhacked. And so they would literally just fight for defensive to get their people out. The problem is there was lots of rivalries between the clans too, and it was more of like before the war, it was more like arguments of like I just don't like you kind of thing. During the war, it turned into people were getting killed, left behind by other clans because they were in the other clan. So, problem with that is there was no like it was more clan clan loyalty versus race loyalty. So the clan started infighting with themselves. They were like, "Well, this is bullshit. We want to save our people, and we want to save our people." And the Emperor really couldn't get a control on it and get them unified enough to really do anything of a major like offensive or anything like that until humanity showed up. Once humanity showed up, everything flipped. And basically, their meetings were like a bunch of angry Japanese businessmen arguing with each other is how it goes. But the war basically broke the entire government kind of just structure of the Kashatha. So much so now that they, basically the clans operate pretty much independently from each other. The Emperor is still intact, but it's really has no power. Like, that office has no power at all.
So it's kind of gone to a shogunate system?
Yeah, they're more shogunate. They have actually resorted to piracy. A lot of the clans they want to push their influence elsewhere, so they go out into into fringe space and they're like, we're gonna send people out there, and they go and do piracy and stuff like that. If they get caught, they get just completely disavowed, and the Kashatha are like, well, we disavowed them. They don't technically belong to us. So the reason why like the Fed hasn't really come down on Kashatha space is because the clans are smart about it, and they say, well, they're the roan and the rogue. They went off into their own thing. There's no association with us. So like legally, the Fed really can't justify going in there and just being like, no, you all need to get your stuff squared away. So they've kind of just left unchecked, and they've been doing that forever and ever. So again, they do meet, like they still meet with the like clan meetings and stuff, and it's a bunch of just angry Japanese businessmen yelling and alien at each other. Pretty much the picture that I used earlier. So, they have a very they're very honor bound. They are pretty much space samurai. They like to use diplomacy. They're actually diplomatic pirates. They're not really. They don't really go out there and are cutthroat about things. They're very actually proper, and they do treat people nicely, but they steal a lot of stuff because that's just what the clans want to do, man. They don't want to pay for it. And there is also a Yakuza type organization as well within the Empire. Just letting you know, Bilotti.
Of course.
Of course there is, because it's Japan. What do you expect? It's Space Japan!
Tentacles.
Fucking space weebs.
Yep. They also have 4 arms. So, there you go.
All the better to draw twice as much anime and manga with.
Double the speed. Double the porn.
But a lot of their influence, they actually have a lot of influence up in this part of the fringe up here. Like
so this is where all the weebs live. Got it.
Well, not all of them, but that's where the clans go and hang out. They go up there and they go mess with the independent systems and stuff up there. So,
Go southwest.
All right, and then the last one's the Lashunta, which is what, as Bilotti said, the corner store Puerto Rican guy in Cleveland, I guess, or something. They are in Castroville here. They really weren't a race of note within the whole coalition in the Void Wars. They were originally in the Kashatha Empire, but when the wars started, they really couldn't hold on to this stuff, and Castroville actually held out against the Vesk. So they basically kind of got their independence that way. The Lashunta themselves, they're more of like the scientific kind of backbone of the coalition, or at least they were during the war. They were the ones pushing a lot of the technology for the Kashatha and everybody. They think like the Solarians from Mass Effect. They kind of have that similar kind of style of how they do things. They're not very direct. They'd rather just learn about stuff and be scientific than try and fight you. So that's basically what they do. They pretty much, as soon as humanity showed up, they've really integrated into the Federation. They're actually probably outside of like some of the bigger systems here. They're probably one of the more stalwart members of the Fed. Like there is actual units that they bring in from Castroville to do a lot of like research and R&D and stuff. So that's basically them in a nutshell. There's not a lot about them. They didn't have a really big history or anything. But yeah, that should be all the races. Oh, the Yoshowski, or the Yokoski, the space rats. I do need to talk about them. So there is space Skaven. They're called the Yokoski. They were actually created YSOKI, I think is what it is. It's in the book too. They're in the book. They were actually created on accident by the Lashunta. They created the Lashunta.
They were experimenting with New York City rats that came from
no.
that the humans brought.
So what happened was the Lushunta, like, one of their big things that they like to look into is like genetic manipulation. They like splicing things together. Humanity does it too, to an extent, and I'll talk about that. But the Lushunta basically got to a point where they created the Yokosuki in the lab, like just straight out of a tube. I don't know, the question is where they got the rat DNA from.
Humans.
If it was from the humans or what.
The
But
fucking New York City rats snuck
Mhm.
aboard the ships.
And so they got a hold of that and they made the Yokosuki.
Yosoki. Okay, there
Yeah.
we go. Got it. Found the page.
And basically, yeah, and the space rat people, they don't really have a formal system. Like, they don't have their own planets or government or anything. They basically are more spacefaring. And kind of the same thing with the Kashatha too. They do have their systems, but they like to stay more on the move. It's easier to dodge. It's easier to dodge the Fed that way if you're moving all the time.
Where are the Yosoki?
They don't have their own system.
No, so they
all mixed in.
no system at all. Got
No,
it.
they're all mixed in with everybody. They kind of hopped aboard a spaceship one day when they broke out of the lab, and they've been spreading like rats ever since. Like they are. And they do have they may be out in the fringes. They may have colonies and stuff, but mainly they stay together in families. They don't really have a drive to not a drive on a large enough scale to really do like a formal organization of like a nation for them. They've tried, some have tried a few times and it didn't last very long because either someone took advantage of it or they kind of just lost interest and they said, "We're going to go back to doing what we were doing. So, bye." So they're more content to kind of work with the humans, work with the other races to, do roles and stuff like that. They're not treated as second rate like androids are, and that was a big kind of sticking point during the Android Wars too.
So they are not considered rodents of unusual size.
No,
Okay.
they are actually considered sentient beings and are treated as such. Humanity has also done a lot of genetic gene. They do a lot of gene therapy, and they brought it with them. So they do have the squats are a thing. So space dwarves are a thing. Elves, or that more feminine looking, more, alluring looks that you get with elves are a thing too. They're all basically subsets of humans. So elves, dwarves, gnomes, all of the stuff from like Pathfinder. If you guys ever want to know, they basically came from a genetic template or manipulation of the human DNA. Because the idea was is we want to make people or bodies, people that can better work in those conditions. So like dwarves, hey, we're gonna go do mining and stuff like that. So you want to make them smaller,
Higher gravity planets.
Yeah, higher grav, stuff like that. Also to help with the different environments and being orcs, for example, were more kind of built for military. There's a lot of them that serve in the MC, the Marine Corps. They use them because they can adapt to hazardous conditions a little bit easier, and they're more hardy and stuff like that. So it's basically manipulation of the genes to better fit the role that they play. And that actually came with humanity from Earth. That was not started here. So that's just kind of been the way it is. And since then too, they're not like when they do this manipulation and stuff like that, they don't basically they can still naturally reproduce and all that. So over time, that's where the populations came from. Cloning is a thing too. They don't really use it too much unless things get really dire. But
Clones.
they do have clone units within the Marine Corps. They do have it's mainly human clones. They have been doing tests on other species, but the human scientists know the human body the best, so that's where they're at with it. What else can I tell you? I think that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
I don't think so.
Nope, I'm good.
Nope.
Okay. So, are you all sure?
Where are we starting out?
That's a good question. We'll probably be starting on Terminus. So, technology-wise, that's something else we need to talk about too. So, in the map, or if you read the book, you see what's called drift. If you see that, drift is just hyperspace count. For us, way hyperspace work here in ours is going to be like Star Wars hyperspace. And you see the distances on the map here. That is the number in light years that they are from each other.
Okay.
So, now you don't have to stick the hyperspace lanes. You can jump from, say, Terminus all the way out to Yggdrasil if you wanted to, or all the way out here to the Fringe. It'll take longer.
Yeah, we'll just have to do some math.
And it'll probably be not as stable. These are the stable routes that they have, that people have traveled all the time, and these are like the most optimized routes to get to places. So, and these are
I'm gonna jump from Terminus Station to Alagi Alpha, rolling at 0.
Yeah.
And the ship disappears, and none of us are ever seen from again.
So,
And
Seems
dead.
like
End of the game.
space drive malfunctions.
yeah. These lanes here these are the ones that are heavily regulated too. So there's
Lost
patrols and things like that.
Alright, fair enough.
Now, there is other systems here
Slipspace
that
rupture detected. Slipspace
probably
rupture
pop
detected.
up, but
Slipspace rupture
these are
detected.
all like habitable areas and stuff. These are where population centers are. This isn't the whole sector, so there's more out here. It's just when I tried it with everything on here and the map got like super cluttered, and I'm like, nope, we're good. So if you like, these are the coordinates here. This is a system that doesn't have a planet in it, but it may have a space station or asteroids or something like that.
Okay.
So if you see
Nice.
any of the numbers like that might be what is there. Go ahead, Minnie.
Is there anything not on this map that may actually be a thing? Another solar system that I guess we wouldn't know that, so it's a pointless question to begin with.
Minnie, I'm going to answer
I
your
might
question.
know some of those.
Oh.
Did you read my thing, Waller?
I did a little bit.
I just saw you click into it.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta read fast.
I will say this.
I guess
that planet was out in the fringe space that you're referring to. I will say that for yours, Spalati.
Which planet?
The one that you would know about when your backstory. Or the stuff that you knew about. That'd be out more in the fringe space, like out in the fringe.
Yeah, like off the map.
Yeah.
Shit where we're currently exploring, but
let's just say there is
things that aren't really common knowledge, they're just now being explored or discovered.
Let's just say, Minnie, to answer your question, yes. There is.
Okay, so it's possible to punch in coordinates.
Yes.
And just go to dead space, like right here somewhere, and just sit.
Yeah. Okay. And that's what a lot of the pirates things do to run away. They'll go into like these systems, hit something, and they jump into dead space and disappear. So, and there is other places that might be civilized and things too that aren't on this map.
Gotcha.
So, but that's the mystery of what we do in RP. We'll get to find out about it.
I'd like to plot a course to a random destination, natural 20. You find a fucking magical civilization.
So your guys' ship does not have a drive on it right now. You do not have hyperdrive. No. So what's cool, and Bilotti, you weren't here for this, but these guys know about it.
When we steal a fucking frigate.
So there is
yeah, because that worked out so well last time.
So, it almost did. Don't deny it.
There is jump ships as well for ships that don't have either the capacity or capability
So
of
it's like a
mounting.
scheduled ferry,
Yeah,
essentially.
it's like
like
the
a
jump
tug?
ships in BattleTech. It's like the BattleTech jump ships. Yeah, it's just basically a ship with a frame on it, and they literally put a freaking hyperdrive on it, and you attach your ship to it, and it's basically a hyperdrive ferry.
Okay.
And those are on these systems as well, like so on these courses. But so you guys don't have to get a hyperdrive right away if you don't want to.
We can use the lanes.
Yes, you can still use the lanes regardless, but
Hmm.
it's just you can't jump your own ship. You have to pay for somebody to jump it for you, basically.
Rent a jet.
Got it.
Basically. So and the military has their own and things like that. So depending on your contract, you might get a free jump out of it. So but the Fed aren't everywhere, if you guys noticed. Like they don't have a sustained presence out in the fringes. So what Bilotti has circled are actually training locations for the Fed. So they're here in Kribel, Terminus, and
I had those
out
set up
there
as
and
the,
out
like
there.
the bases.
Yeah, so when they recruit, so they can recruit from basically any of these worlds, and they go to one of these bases. And they also have their big fleets. It's their big anchorages for their fleets and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and the Fed Navy is huge. They've got probably 200 battleships. They're pretty big. And those are also battleship carriers. So, yeah, you don't want to mess with the Fed, man. They'll come in and ruin your day.
Time to steal one.
Good luck. Because they have a crew of about a couple thousand on them. So.
Yes, but that's what lack of oxygen is for.
And a robot
How
that
are you
can
going
survive.
to crew the ship with 3 people that needs
With the
4,000?
power of computers.
Right, the robot goes in once everyone's been spaced, and then he starts it back up. It's gonna be the shortest RP ever.
Yeah.
You all die.
TPK session 1. So, is there anything else that you guys would like to know?
One thing. The
Yeah.
Vesk. Do they have
Yes.
the same prejudices against the androids as everyone else, or do they not
Yes.
care?
The androids tried to kill the Vesk too.
Ah, okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's
All
just popping up on my screen, Bilotti.
Can you move that off the board? I see it, but I can't like grab it.
Whee!
It fell through the board.
I touched
Oh god.
it.
Got it.
Ooh,
Got
damn, nice catch. Oh, did you
It's gonna
drop
keep
it?
falling through the board.
Yeah,
It's gonna
you
keep
got it.
going through.
I got it. Deleted
So, and for you guys, you being contracted by a newly created mercenary company to work for them. They have sent you a letter of, we'd like to hire you letter. So, that is where we're
What?
going to start. Yeah.
it. I'm not a mercenary. Fuck that. I'll find something else.
Well, they sent you a letter.
And that's me out.
They sent you a letter, Bilotti. They sent your character a letter.
Yeah, we'll figure that out in session.
So,
I got an email.
All right, so I need a backwater planet, Waller.
out in the fringes, man. I can get you. So if you guys have any questions, all of these systems are actually populated. I have a program that I'm running that has populated, like, I have information on all these systems. These aren't planets themselves, these are full-blown systems. So Varog, for example, on Vesk Prime itself, there's like 9 billion Vesk. And then the rest of the system, there's like another 2 or 3 billion spread around just in the system. So, like, if you have any questions about any of these systems, ask, because I can probably pull it up and tell you.
Now, does the map
And they-
actually go off?
What do you mean?
Like I'm looking at it, there are points.
No, these are on the edges there. Those are on the
Okay.
edges of the map there.
Yeah, because I'm looking at lanes going outwards there, and
it's to this point, like right here, like it cut off. Wait, it just cut off there. But there's
gotcha. Okay.
there's like a populated plant here, and then like Zakar's there, and Atronair, and up here there's Redson up in the corner.
Yeah, I think I found your backwater thing.
Huh?
All the way upper left, Renson.
Rinse and repeat.
What would you like to know about Redson?
Does it have a planet?
1 second. So
I'm gonna go with Inkton down here.
Inkton?
In this corner. Yeah.
It does have that backwatery ring to it.
Yeah. It sounds good in a southern accent.
So Ankton is actually has a habitable planet, but is not a. They don't have a large population.
Perfect.
So there's Ankton 2 and Ankton 3. And then there's Notcheller Ambiter. I'm just gonna call it Notcheller. Notcheller is a terrestrial planet. Has an orbit of 37.62 days.
Wow, holy shit. It's rocketing around that sun.
37.62 days. Rotation is 337.2 hours.
What the fuck?
That
is a long ass day.
Yeah. Has an atmosphere of 1.22. So a little bit heavier than Earth. And it has a little bit of it is habitable. It's got, I'm not going to tell you the O2 stuff because you don't really need to know that. Humans can live on it, basically.
Where are you getting this, by the way?
It is a program that Cash found. It's called Astrosynthesis. And it's basically a software that a company that makes this for like DMs and stuff. They put this together, and you can actually create full-blown like planetary sectors like this in the system. It's pretty cool.
$34.95. So I take it you guys pirated it.
No, Cash bought it, and we're using cool. We bought one copy for 3 people.
Yep. Hey, that works. So tell me about Ankton 1 or 2 and 3, or 3 and 4, or whatever it was.
2 is another terrestrial planet. The mean temp on Notcheller, at least in here, I'm going to change this, but here's the mean temp, 509 Kelvin. That's a little warm.
Yep.
That's not be
doing
that
one.
Not going to be that hot. Here's one. So Ankton 2 is has a 0.5 gravity. Orbital period. Oh my god, that is a humongous orbital period. 182.62 years.
Slow planet.
Rotation is 14 hours. Mean temp is 35 Kelvin. Atmosphere is 0.12. You're not living on Ankton 2. Let's just put it that way. Now, what's cool is the system gives us asteroids and smaller bodies too, so we can look at moons and stuff.
That doesn't work with how I have my backstory written.
Yeah, Ankton 3 is another terrestrial planet.
Let's hear it.
Gravity is 0.14.
Okay.
Orbital
let's find
period,
a different one.
325 years.
What was the other one in there that wasn't Notcheller?
Those were it. I can look
two
at the moons,
and Notcheller?
Yeah, I can look at the moons though here. Let me see if there's a moon that'll work.
The previous planet he mentioned is negative 402 Fahrenheit, so yeah.
This Ankton 3, 36 Kelvin. Negative 237 Celsius.
Yeah.
It's a fucking ice ball.
Let's go have a look at Renson, I guess.
Renson, okay. I can change these too. I can add things into Bloody.
Oh, well, goddammit.
Yeah.
Normalize one of those planets then. Fucking hell.
Well, let's go look at Renson.
It's only negative 394 Fahrenheit. You're fine. Just put on a coat.
Come on, you. There we go. There we go. Okay, there is populated planets in Redsun. So
How populated?
one of them has good population.
5 people.
No, we're talking whole system, probably a couple million.
Okay,
So
that's good. That's nice and small.
one of the planets. So here's the names. I'm just gonna call it Lave, Lave. It's
Lave.
Lativium, but it's Lave. I'll just call it Lave. 1.1 or 01 G's, orbital period 115 days, rotation 178.8 hours. Mean temp is 265 Kelvin and minus 8 Celsius. Atmosphere is 8.3. Jesus.
That's a little cold.
That's a little cold.
Let's not that
Population is 7,000.
Do you want to normalize that a little bit? Or?
There's one that might be normalized here, actually. So, man, they don't like this Kelvin number. Jesus, 244 Kelvin. But there's 275 people living on that planet.
I mean that's fine.
275,000.
Yeah.
Mean temperature is 244 Kelvin. So, or not, minus 29 Celsius. Literally, these planets are all like freaking Hoth. It's terrifying.
And why are they using Kelvin? Stop that. That's
because
dumb.
this is a science software. Okay, they're being sciencey. It's minus 29 Celsius. They do give you Celsius too.
I like Kelvin. 0 Kelvin is nothing.
Yeah.
You have no energy in the system. It's as dead gets. It's also unobtainable.
So you want to be from Lave then?
That
or
you know
to be
of.
from called Skyme. It's Lave, Skyme, and
Skyme was the 275,000, right?
yeah.
Yeah, how do you spell it?
SKIM or SKIME.
Oh,
Yeah, if you go ahead and normalize that out for me, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yep.
Cool. I appear in my own recommendations list.
YouTube recommends you?
I guess so. Well, to me. It recommends me to me. Cool. Ahoy, dude.
I mean, Earth is 288 degrees in Kelvin. By the way.
How many?
Earth's 288 degrees in Kelvin, so I just made it like Earth. So
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
yeah. Any other questions? Terminus, by the way, has about 1.2 million people living on it. It's a pretty big place for a space station.
Damn.
And it's the big trade hub anyway, so there's lots of people moving through there all the time. So.
Alright, I think I got a good start here. Oh, well, you think I should expand that backstory a bit, or?
Up to you, man. You want to?
I think I pretty much nailed it. I'll do like a blurb about his description and personality, and then it should be good.
Yeah.
All right.
Is there any questions on Terran stuff, the Fed?
Not for me.
Nope.
Halsworth's been awful quiet.
Yeah.
Either that or his internet died. Oh no, he's on his good internet now.
Yeah. Halsworth.
Oh, he flipped his lag switch again.
Yeah. Hi. Can y'all hear me?
Hello? Yeah. Did you switch your lag switch back to connected?
So I just kind of listen.
Okay.
All right then. Anything else, guys?
I think that's pretty much it. Unless you guys have any questions.
Revolution to overthrow Waller can be stood down for now, boys.
Why is that? Why is that?
Because it can be stood down for now.
Why? Tell
Tune
me
in
why.
next
What's
week when the three of us overthrow Waller and establish a new dictatorship across this TeamSpeak.
Revolution. Revolution.
Let's put Minnie in charge because I'm an accelerationist and I want to see everything burn.
I mean,
I'm your man.
Minnie's the money guy, so I mean, he'd be the best pick.
Minnie money.
How is the money guy automatically the best pick?
I don't know.
How is the
Maybe
money
just
guy
becomes the
also
best
not a
front
server
because we can
admin
use
in the
him to pay for
TeamSpeak?
everything.
He never asked for it.
Yeah, he never really did ask for it, so.
That's actually probably not a bad thing.
Yeah,
Now that I think about it.
Do you think we trust giving Minnie authority?
No.
Bad idea.
Doolittle would be the first one out. I mean, shit.
And see, that's a problem if Minnie tries to evict me because I can evict Minnie harder than he can evict me.
And then I can, yeah.
And then Waller just comes in. You're all fucked.
Yep.
Alright, I think I'm gonna log out
Waller
then.
would be all fucked, except for the fact that, you know, on the back end, there's a certain
I
gift I can use.
fixed it!
Oh, you finally fixed it, did you?
Yes.
Wait, there was a
Anymore.
loophole?
There was a massive fucking loophole.
I put the super
I could
admin
have
password for
forcibly
TeamSpeak
seized
on the
power
back.
in this TeamSpeak if I had the mind to.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm going back to bed.
Alright, man.
Have a good one, buddy.
Adios.
Yeah, it's a good thing Waller does not work in cybersecurity.
Nope.
We would be fucked if he did.
Just real quick
Yep.
before I go, Halsworth's a faggot.
User disconnected
Yes.
from your channel.
Gotta leave in style.
Alright,
When do you get... what the hell? Is that your fucking laptop?
What if?
I just heard this high-pitched whining noise that sounded like your laptop
Sounds
was...
like your fucking soul is leaving your body, Minnie.
No, it sounded like your
Alright,
laptop was
guys.
screaming
Are
to
you
put
still
it out of its
streaming,
misery.
Rennie?
Oh, yeah, I am.
Probably